Where are Elmer, Herman, Bert, Tom, and Charlie? The weak of will, the strong of arm, the clown, the boozer, the fighter. All are sleeping on the hill.
One passed in a fever, one was burned in a mine, one was killed in a brawl, one died in a jail.
One fell from a bridge, toiling for children and wife.
All are sleeping on the hill.
Where are Ella, Kate, Mag, Lizzie, and Edith? The tender heart, the simple soul.
The loud, the proud, the happy one. All are sleeping on the hill.
One died in shameful childbirth, one of a thwarted love, one at the hands of a brute in a brothel, one of a broken pride in search for heart's desire.
One after life in far away London and Paris was brought to her, little space by Ella and Kate and Mag. All are sleeping on the hill.
Where are Uncle Isaac and Aunt Emily, and old Townie Kincaid and Sabine Houghton?
And Major Walker, who talked with venerable men of the Revolution?
All are sleeping on the hill.
They brought them dead sons from the war, and daughters whom life had crushed.
And their children, fatherless, crying.
All are sleeping on the hills.
I was a peasant girl from Germany, blue-eyed, rosy, happy, and strong. And the first place I worked was at Thomas Green's. On a summer's day when she was away, he stole into the kitchen and took me right in his arms and kissed me on my throat, I turning my head. And neither of us seemed to know what happened. And I cried for what would become of me, and cried as my secret began to show. One day Mrs. Green said she understood, and would make no trouble for me, and, being childless, would adopt it, give it our farm to be still. So she hid in the house and sent out rumors, as if it were going to happen to her. And all went well. The child was born. They were so kind to me. Later, I married Gus Wortman, and years passed, but at political rallies, when sitters-by thought I was crying at the eloquence of Hamilton Green, that was not it. No, I wanted to say, that's my son. That's my son.
Who carved this shattered harp on my stone? I died to you, no doubt. But how many harps and pianos wired I and tightened and disentangled to you, making them sweet again with a tuning fork or without? Oh, well, the harp leaps out the ear of a man, you say. But whence the ear that orders the length of strings to a magic of numbers, flying before your thought through a door that closes against your breathless wonder? Is there no ear round the ear of a man, that it senses through strings and columns of air the soul of sound? I thrill to call it a tuning fork that catches waves of mingled music and light from afar, the antenna of thought that listens through utmost space. Surely the concord that rules my spirit is proof of an ear that tuned me, able to tune me over and use me again if I am worthy to use.
Yes, here I lie close to a stunted rose bush, in a forgotten place near the fence, where the thickets from Seaver's woods have crept over, growing sparsely. And you are a leader in New York, the wife of a noted millionaire, and named in the society columns. Beautiful, admired, magnified perhaps by the mirage of distance. You have succeeded. I have failed in the eyes of the world. You are alive. I am dead. Yet I know that I vanquished your spirit, and I know that lying here far from you, unheard of among your great friends, in the brilliant world where you move, I am really the unconquerable power over your life that robs it of complete triumph.
I grew spiritually fat, living off the souls of men. If I saw a soul that was strong, I wounded its pride and devoured its strength. The shelters of friendship knew my cunning, but where I could steal a friend, I did so. And wherever I could enlarge my power by undermining ambition, I did so, thus to make smooth my own. And to triumph over other souls, just to assert and prove my superior strength, was with me a delight, the keen exhilaration of soul gymnastics. Devouring souls, I should have lived forever. But their undigested remains bred in me a deadly nephritis. Fear, restlessness, sinking spirits, hatred, suspicion, vision disturbed. I collapsed at last with a shriek. Remember the acorn. It does not devour other acorns.
Reverend Wiley advised me not to divorce him for the sake of the children, and Judge Somers advised him the same. So he stuck to the end of the path. But 2 of the children thought he was right, and 2 of the children thought I was right. And the 2 who sided with him blamed me, and the 2 who sided with me blamed him. And they grieved for the one they sided with, and all were torn in with the guilt of judging and tortured in soul because they could not admire equally him and me. Now, every gardener knows that plants grown in cellars or under stones are twisted and yellow and weak. and no mother would let her baby suck diseased milk from her breast. Yet, preachers and judges advise the raising of souls where there is no sunlight, but only twilight, no warmth, but only dampness and cold. Preachers and judges.
Were you not ashamed, fellow citizens, when my estate was probated and everyone knew how small a fortune I left? You, who in life hounded me to give to the churches, to the poor, to the village. Me, who had already given much. And think you not, I did not know that the pipe organ which I gave to the church played its christening songs when Deacon Rhodes, who broke and all but ruined me, worshipped for the first time after his acquittal?
Herbert broke our engagement of 8 years when Annabelle returned to the village from the seminary. Ah, me. If I had let my love for him alone, it might have grown into a beautiful sorrow. Who knows? Filling my life with healing fragrance. But I tortured it. I poisoned it. I blinded its eyes, and it became hatred. Deadly ivy instead of clematis. And my soul fell from its support, its tendrils tangled in decay. Do not let the will play gardener to your soul, unless you are sure it is wiser than your soul's nature.
I loathed you, Spoon River. I tried to rise above you. I was ashamed of you. I despised you as the place of my nativity. And there in Rome, among the artists, speaking Italian, speaking French, I seemed to myself at times to be free of every trace of my origin. I seemed to be reaching the heights of art and to breathe the air that the masters breathe, to see the world with their eyes. Still they'd pass my work and say, "What are you driving at, my friend? Sometimes the face looks like Apollo's. At other times it has a trace of Lincoln's." There was no culture, you know, in Spoon River, and I burned with shame and held my peace. And what could I do? All covered over and weighed down with western soil, except aspire and pray for another birth in the world, with all of Spoon River rooted out of my soul.
I was 16. I had the most terrible dreams. And specks before my eyes, nervous weakness, and I couldn't remember the books that I read, like Frank Drummer. I memorized page after page. My back was weak and I worried and worried. I was embarrassed, stammered my lessons. And when I rose to recite, I forgot everything I had studied. Well, I saw Dr. Reese's advertisement, and there I read everything in print, just as though he had known me, about the dreams which I couldn't help, So I knew I was marked for an early grave. I worried until I had the cough, and the dreams stopped. And then I slept the sleep with no dreams. Here on the hill, by the river.
I wanted to go away to college, but rich Aunt Persis wouldn't help me. So I made gardens and raked the lawns, and bought John Alden's books with my earnings, and toiled for their means of life. I wanted to marry Delia Prickett, but how could I do it with what I earned? There was Aunt Persis, more than 70, who sat in a wheelchair half alive, with her throat so paralyzed when she swallowed, the soup ran out of her mouth like a duck. A gourmand yet, investing her income in mortgages, fretting all the time about her notes and rents and papers. That day, I was sawing wood for her and reading Proudhon in between. I went in the house for a drink of water, and there she sat, asleep in her chair. Proudhon lying on the table, and a bottle of chloroform in the book she sometimes used for an aching tooth. I poured the chloroform on a handkerchief and held it to her nose till she died. Oh, Delia, Delia, you and Proudhon steadied my hand. And the coroner said she died of heart failure. I married Delia and got the money. A joke on you, Spoon River.
Silent before the jury, returning no word to the judge when he asked me if I had ought to say anything against the sentence, only shaking my head. What could I say to the people who thought that a woman of 35 was at fault when her lover of 19 killed her husband, even though she had said to him over and over, "Go away, Elmer, go far away. I have maddened your brain with the gift of my body. You will do some terrible thing." And just as I feared, he killed my husband, with which I had nothing to do before God. Silent for 30 years in prison. And the iron gates of Joliet swung as the gray and silent trustees carried me out. In a coffin.
Well, don't you see this was the way of it? We bought the farm with what he inherited, and his brothers and sisters accused him of poisoning their father's mind against the rest of them. And we never had any peace with our treasure. The murrain took the cattle, and the crops failed, and lightning struck the granary. So we mortgaged the farm to keep going. And he grew silent and was worried all the time. Then the neighbors refused to speak to us, and I had no place to turn. As one may say to himself at an earlier time in life, no matter, so-and-so is my friend, or I can shake this off with a little trip to Decatur. Then the dreadfulest smells infested the rooms, so I set fire to the beds, and the old witch house went up in a roar of flames as I danced in the yard with waving arms, while he wept like a freezing steer.